Welcome to the Southeast Retirement Planners Podcast, where we will go beyond the balance sheet with our guests, not only to share from our personal experience as financial advisors of over 25 plus years, but also to learn from our guests about the issues and topics that are important to them. Our firm specializes in taking care of the financial plans for individuals and small businesses by helping our clients identify their individual goals and taking a conservative and ongoing approach to helping accomplish them. We are located in Hickory, North Carolina, and look forward to continuing to serve our clients and our community. Thank you for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode.
Thanks, everyone, for joining us today. I'm Ryan Edwards here with Les Stewart. We're happy that you've joined us today on the Southeast Retirement Planners Podcast. We're going to be covering something that we sometimes encounter, and hopefully, as you're listening to this, you haven't had to face it, but if you are facing it currently or have the possibility or have thought about it in the past of facing a layoff kind of pre what's determined to be 65, or facing a layoff before you really plan on going into retirement. We've got some scenarios that come our way where individuals kind of have an idea of retiring at maybe 65, 67 later, and they get called in one day and have to hang it up at an earlier date, 61, 60, 62, 63. Yeah. And what goes on. So what we're going to do today is kind of dive in deep to what happens when a layoff hits just before retirement age, financially, emotionally, and logistically as well. Some things to consider. And this is going to kind of what we're going to talk about today is some realistic strategies, some considerations, and kind of a mindset shifts, if you will, to help the listeners out there kind of face the unexpected, if you will.
Right. It's and we'll go through it, but it can be scary, any time during your life to be laid off, and it also is just an emotional time. I mean, a lot of us pour our lives into our jobs, and all of a sudden the carpet gets pulled out from under you. So. Yeah.
Now, some common industries and scenarios that maybe this happens at, but before retirement age is large companies that are constantly restructuring, and they're looking to maybe streamline some divisions. And then when they look at the scenarios, ages and everything, they look at people close to retirement and may say, hey, we'll give them a severance package. But what happens in that scenario, it may take them to like 63. Well, it depends on what that severance package looks like. There's also industries out here, or companies, I should say, that have been private equity or mergers, acquisitions have taken place and come in. And
duplicates on the position.
Yeah,
right?
Duplicates on the payroll usually don't. Somebody needs to. Somebody may have to go, and if that's your situation, that could you could fall into this scenario. So, right there, what we've seen is just retirement in general is certainly a happy time for most people, but it's also, surveys are out there that show it's one of the top 10 most fearful things individuals face in their lifetime, or as they get older in age.
Yeah, I mean it's whether it's through forced retirement or like you say, just a planned retirement. Yeah. It's a lifestyle change, and you've got to basically figure out how to fill a void of time that you had probably 40 to 50 hours a week was you woke up every morning, you knew exactly what you were going to be doing that day. And
you're seeing those people more than you're seeing your family. Right. And that emotional impact is
you got to learn how to like your spouse again.
Yeah,
find out who your new friends are.
Take directions from someone other than your boss at home. So in many ways, but I that's things that we see, and obviously we always say this is for educational purposes. Listeners need to consult with a licensed financial professional for advice specific to their situation. We are not psychiatrists, and are not. We may claim to be sometimes when we talk to each other, but on a daily basis, we're a licensed, investment advisor. Right. What we do each day, financial advisor. So,
but before we get into that, we kind of were pretty negative on retirement there. But retirement's great, from what I hear.
Yeah, from what I hear, it's good. If you've got things lined up and you got the money to do it, it can be very good. but that entering into it, I think there's always some apprehension, even for those that are maybe have it planned out like they think they do. It's just it's a different scenario. So let's dive into financial. What we see, and over we've been in the business over 22 years. Southeast Retirement Planners has been around for over right at 18 years. We've been working together. And the vast majority, and I try to convey this to people, is they'll come in with all these questions, all this information, or all these thoughts.
Right.
And the old saying is, don't put the cart before the horse. Until you have all the information, yes, I know it's a worrisome time, but you got to get the facts. You got to get the facts first. And what we see is making assess the position that they're in right now, where they're at with their 401ks, are there any pensions, where's your emergency savings, what does it look like, and what's your scenario for insurance.
Right.
Remember, we're talking pre-65 here, okay?
Right,
And this. And are there going to be unemployment benefits? Once again, is there a severance involved?
Right.
What's to expect in those scenarios?
And a lot of times there are. That we've seen.
Yes, and a lot of times there are.
Most people and employers and business owners aren't just cold, heartless people. They're they deliberate and have angst over the decisions they have to make, and so they try to make it as beneficial as the company can afford.
Correct.
A lot of times.
There may be Social Security options depending on the age, and whether you early claim or delay is something that needs to be considered. And those are all items that have to be assessed. Now, there is the famous water cooler I'd like to bring up. There's a lot of individuals that find out what they feel is the gospel, the written facts is around the water cooler. That at their work, that other people have gone through, that they have looked at somebody that stayed in a Motel 8 last night or whatever it is, and they've proclaimed expert.
Right, holiday. I think it's a holiday.
Is it a holiday?
Yeah,
I don't know where did I get that from. I don't stay. I'm not that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously, we try to make sure that everyone has the facts, okay? And before you have the facts, you're just basically jumping to conclusions and creating that checklist for someone. What do you have? What's your worries? And then let's start checking some boxes, okay? So at that point in time, that's the financial piece, okay? But you also got to assess the timeline. So are you going to say, hey, I'm going to make a pivot and maybe look for a new job here?
Right.
Or I'm going to jump into retirement early. Yeah. That's what I want to pursue first, and let's look at the numbers and see where that takes us, and can I do it? Let's pivot and go to a whole new career or maybe another option that for employment. Do I have a skill or something that I could go out and kind of create a side hustle to make some extra money here? Do I, or maybe I just want to go get a part-time job, not full-time, and kind of integrate myself into working less.
Right.
So those are all items that I think that people look at to bridge the gap.
Right, and I think to make that whole decision process easier, if you do some work ahead of time, don't wait till the event happens. Do some work ahead of time to prepare to be able to handle that when it happens.
Right.
You don't necessarily have to be what's called financially independent, which in my mind means, I can make the decision to walk away from my job today and do whatever I want to from that point and not work. But if you're working toward building a plan and you're in good financial position, you can make better decisions at that point in time. So which means several things. Well, I may be jumping ahead here, but having a emergency savings account set up, having your retirement savings, working early and often, the savings part of it and being invested, having access to funds, that way you've got a little grace period to make some smart decisions, instead of I don't exactly what would you say the typical time period between when somebody's alerted that they're going to be laid off. We're not talking about fired here because,
right, yeah.
but
layoff. I mean, they usually get a month or so to decide and have some leeway. And we certainly, a financially stable person usually can easily bridge that gap with just their own personal savings for a few months, usually after that decision or scenario has happened. And what we, from our side, there's some different planning things. We look at things not only gathering that information and helping our clients, but also looking at it from a tax perspective. Mm-hmm. Is there a way to take advantage of the tax code? Is there a way to look at Roth conversions while their income's down? Mm-hmm. Roth conversions may have not been a scenario. Maybe they are, or could be now as the scenario has changed with their workforce, with them in the workforce and their income going down. What we've seen is the biggest impact that's a surprise for people, and I don't understand why it's a surprise, because I think it's a surprise it's because of the water cooler, is they think that health insurance, if it's not, you're always going to get COBRA, meaning you can retain your current health insurance plan for a certain period of time, but it's going to be a lot more expensive than what you were paying. Right.
So my company has a health insurance plan that my wife or just myself are using, and then I'm no longer employed there, but there's a period of time that I can still be on that same exact plan, but correct. Instead of the company paying for part or all of that expense, then I'm picking up the
entire amount.
That amount, and it's usually, from what I've seen, it's usually fairly expensive, but it's a good. Sometimes it's a good option to bridge that gap.
A Band-Aid right there for a little bit, and so the second scenario is if you don't want to go COBRA, is like the water cooler people say, there's some affordable insurance. Well, they have no clue what you need and how your family reacts. So what we've seen is that the individuals we've encountered that have to go out and look for health insurance, they're like a deer in headlights when they see the insurance premium that they're going to have to pay for 62 to 65. It's a lot more significant than what they think for a comparable healthcare plan. I'm talking a comparable healthcare plan to what they had with their employer.
Sure.
There may be some scenarios where it is less, but it's because you're getting less in coverage usually.
Right.
And therein lies the biggest expense for someone pre-65 before they go with Medicare that they maybe thought that they weren't going to have, is the options associated after being employed but before 65 associated with health care.
But when you're in your mid-60s or approaching 60, it's still cheaper to have health care coverage than it is to not have it.
Yes, we are not promoting no health care insurance at all, because that can financially impact somebody.
Yeah, and just take a trip to the emergency room and see how that works
and
out.
That will severely impact probably your retirement outlook and probability of having a nice one. It'll take away from your savings, to say the least. Now, the thing is, I want to go back. Once you get 65, you have the ability to get Medicare, but then also Medicare supplements at that time, and how to bridge that gap between that period when you're layoff and getting to 65 is something we need to look at. I would just always, I keep going back to this, is don't put the cart before the horse. Avoid making assumptions. The old saying, you know what assuming does. Right. It certainly applies with this. You're gonna. What we've also found is people are hit up with different ideas. They're trying to seek for information. They don't type in their search right on the computer, and they get some off the wall answers, or they go down a rabbit hole with a search, or they ask somebody at the water cooler who has no clue about their overall situation, your situation. So that can cause some issues emotionally, certain. But, this is also a time to kind of reinvent yourself, look at things from a perspective, am I going to continue to work? And there are some resources out there for those that have this transition later in work, stuff that we don't provide within our office, but for those that need issues or have issues, mental health, some resources within our community and networking groups offered certainly through the chamber and different other organizations to get your feet wet out there,
right.
Maybe looking for something else.
Right. And, the more information you can get, the better your decisions can be. Also, like you say, the better you can feel about things and your options when, use those services that are out there. Don't just try to, you and the internet go at it or like you say, talking to one person that's just a good buddy. Their experience to this point may be totally different than what your experience and what's going to make you happy and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let me kind of I thought what I would do is kind of sketch out just a little sample case study.
Sure.
Certainly not using any names, but I'm going to go through a scenario we recently had in the office. An individual came to us. They were age 62, and they were not expecting to retire, but until probably, I think they had determined right at 66 and a half, and they were 62, and a layoff occurred.
Right.
And they were surprised at that time. They were also surprised with the cost of health care. They did receive a severance of 1 year. Health care was included with that. So that would take them to 63.
Right.
They had questions on Social Security. Should they file now or should they file later? Well, if you file now, are you aware that, and you still work part-time or full-time, are you aware that if you work, you put part-time or take a full-time job, then your Social Security could be impacted, penalized.
Right.
If you make over a certain amount of money.
And once you do that, it's not like you can say, "Oh, I messed up."
Let's do a redo.
You're right. There's no redo. No. 2 years later, right?
So there's a limit on how much you can make, and then what are you going to do when you have too much time on your hands or you miss work? Like you say, you don't get a redo.
Right.
If you all of a sudden started claiming and say, "No, I want to go back to work,"
right?
Well, you don't get to stop it.
Mm-hmm.
It keeps coming. Do you have health issues? Do you have health issues that make it a scenario that we're not promoting not having health insurance by any means, but how much is the health, we had to go over, how much is the health insurance going to cost that to fulfill the needs that this person had? They had a few health insurance, healthcare issues, I guess I should say.
Right.
That was going to be, if they didn't have the right coverage, it could have a pretty significant impact on their pocketbook.
Right.
And therefore their savings. We sat down with this individual and we assessed their assets, assessed their liabilities. Okay. Came up with basically a net worth statement. Then we went through the various payout scenarios for them for Social Security, 62, 65, 66, 67, full retirement age. We analyzed in time as they got the information, what was their COBRA. We had them go out on healthcare.gov and see what a comparable plan to what they had with their employer would look like and how much it would cost. Then, we assessed, could they go back to work? Do they have a desire to go back to work? If they do, then what's that job going to pay? Those are all the things that we had to take into account. And all those things need to be taken into account before you even make a decision.
Right. To
pull from any assets. Because once you've done it, you've created a taxable event. Once you may be pulled from your Social Security pool, there's no redo. So that's a scenario before retirement, and that has come into our office, and we've had to help. It's not a one meeting thing either. You got to gather the information, assess the information, and get back together. We normally do so in a timely fashion, within a week or so.
Right.
But it allows us to sit down together and call our various resources as well to make sure we're making the best recommendations.
Yeah, and because we deal with this, and I would hope other advisors are on their game with that too. We have those contacts and know where to reach out, and are able to get those answers probably a little quicker than someone starting from scratch
by themselves. Yeah, and that kind of really, I've said this before in previous things, really serving as a quarterback, kind of helping them, making the calls and giving out the instructions and having those contacts with those resources and assist them with the game plan. I guess.
But you don't want to be laid off. Even if you've got a lot of money, you want to make sure that you handle that money correctly too. You don't want to just put it all in your bank account.
Exactly.
Yeah, from your 401k, you'll be in a big mess.
Yes. So that having those conversations centered around what you've accumulated with your retirement plan, how that works with yourself, and how it can work for you in the future is something to really consider. Make it a basic must to have that conversation. If you have questions associated with anything we've covered today, I'd encourage you to reach out to our office.
Right.
We offer a free complimentary, easy for me to say, free complimentary financial checkup for anyone that we don't currently work with. They'll come into our office. Many times we grow through referrals, but maybe you're referred to listen to this podcast and find your way to us and have some questions. We'd love to sit down with you and talk. You can find out more about us on our website. You'll see on our as we put it up on the screen, but also by calling our office at 828-855-2067. We'd love to sit down with you and have a conversation centered around your what you're looking for and your expectations.
Right.
Hopefully you don't run into this scenario, but no, there's a game plan for you if it does occur.
If you do run into it, just remain calm. Take a deep breath, and find some help. If you haven't gotten into this scenario, stay on top. Continue to educate yourself as job skills change. But make sure that if you want to choose that continue to work option, that you have the skill set to be hireable by somebody else too. So kind of just keep thinking one step ahead. But if you can do a little planning with someone that has worked with other people that have been going through this type of thing, it can be a real value in this situation.
Right. It's good words. Well, we thank you once again, and we hope to see or hear. Hope you see or hear us on future video podcasts as well. So thank you for your time.
Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor. Member of FINRA, SIPC. Southeast Retirement Planners is not affiliated with LPL Financial or registered as a broker-dealer or investment advisor.